welcome everybody. We have gathered today for Ukraine update here on the Shills. We've got Secular Sakai in with us. We got Jana from Project Constantine in with us. We've got Slavie in with us. We got Nick Lamar Suter from Not Always in Time on Time or something like that. We'll get the channel name right for you.
It's about time, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's about time you let me finish. Actually,
that's never going to happen. We both know it.
And then we've got our man sitting in with us today as well. We got Phil Ittner. How's it going, Phil?
All good.
All right. So lots going on during the week. There's positive things. There's negative things. There's all kinds of political rhetoric rambling around. Let's start with yourself, Phil. Anything stand out that you want to get to right away?
I mean, so much. On the other side of the border, there seems to be a massive culling of Russian generals. I think that's where the discussion.
Yeah.
The Central Russian Command seems to be, pruning a lot of these guys. We'll have to see what happens with that. Here in Kiev, things are, getting a little bit better with electricity. The weather has changed a little bit. We're out of the heat wave, so I think that is that's taken some of the pressure off the grid. But that's just off the top of my head. There's tons more to talk about. Where are the F-16s? That kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I've never been. You guys probably know this, but I'm not really. I don't do the scrimmage line so much, so I don't talk about kilometers one here, kilometers one there. I tend to kind of take a more comprehensive look at things, but obviously there are issues on the battlefield that need discussing. Not all of them great, but those are the things off the top of my
head. Nick, what do you think there? F-16s is an interesting topic in and of itself. I know the logistics are a nightmare, but it does seem like people are moving at a snail's pace. Oh, you're muted or something?
Oh, geez,
you ever done this before?
Yeah, something squeaky. I assume I have no audio?
No, we can hear
you.
Yeah. You son of a... you know what? I can get trolled on my own channel. I don't need to come here for that. Titan was in the live chat. First thing he said was, Nick who? Son of a...
so he's actually an AI, people. Nick is not back. It's an AI.
None of this is real. Dick knows a little secret about me, which is I know absolutely nothing about news, politics, culture, or anything like that. What I do is I steal other people's ideas. And one of my favorite person to steal from is Commander Lance McMillan. And McMillan has talked often about the F-16s and bringing them in and the problems with it, because the F-16s have such logistical issues in terms of especially fueling, and maintenance, making sure that you have the parts that you need that need to be replaced on a regular basis, even if they do not see combat. So, and all of those things need to be held somewhere, and you need to hold the F-16s somewhere when they're on the ground. And wherever you hold them, it can't be the same place for more than a day or two for very obvious reasons. The drones have changed the game on that front. So, I think the F-16s are so long past due, but even if they had come when they really should have, a lot fewer Ukrainian lives would have been lost. The line where it is right now between Ukraine and what Russia has conquered would be much less of Ukraine, but it would not have fundamentally, ended the war. They're not quite that much of a game changer, at least in my view, from what I've seen and from what I've stolen from people like Lance. So I think the F-16s absolutely important, definitely need to be discussed whether or not they should go from Poland, which would solve a lot of these problems if you can get away with it. And I frankly think it's probably worth a shot.
It's the best for logistics. Yeah. Commanders explained it, correct? Right?
It absolutely. And so and Poland has been itching to get a little more involved for a little while. So I think that's my view, and my hope is I'm going to quote Hodges, Lieutenant General. I'll try not to make him a commander again. I confused him and commander more than once. Ben Hodges on this, which is NATO needs to be taking this more seriously than it really is. Are we as Americans the humanitarians we say we are? Are we really the greatest country in the world? And if so, then let's stand up in NATO, because we really can and should be the leaders in NATO and say, NATO, we're going to take this seriously and we're going to go forward and we are going to fund and help Ukraine to the fullest extent of our ability, because if we don't, we will see World War III. Or are we going to sit back and say, oh my God, there are people at the border, run! And unfortunately, right now, Americans are making that choice, and they're making the wrong one. But at any rate, I think the F-16s is a good sign that there is motion in the correct direction. I am very concerned about the U.S. elections and whether or not that motion will continue, and whether or not there really is the commitment and will continue to be the commitment that people talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can't stress enough how important it is. If you're one of the average fence sitters that doesn't usually bother voting because it's just two grandpas and you don't really care and whatnot, get in and make sure you are counted and heard, because holy, it's going to matter.
Registration.
Yeah.
If you're an American citizen, don't wait until it's too close to the election. Check your registration right now. Right now. Make sure that you are eligible to vote. Double check it. There's going to be a lot of help. There's going to be a lot of pig fucking. To paraphrase the Roger Stones of this world, who love to do things like that, and they're going to try and disenfranchise your vote as best they can. Don't wait until it's too close. Check now that you are able to cast your ballot.
Good words.
That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
I mean, or unless you want me to get on my soapbox, which I certainly can.
Hey, that's what the show's all about, man. Grab it, stand up, and take the talking stick.
Well, I'm a single topic voter. I got one thing on my mind when it comes to casting my ballot, and that's who's going to help Ukraine.
Exactly.
And it isn't Trump, and it's not Vance. So no. I don't care who Harris picks as her VP. There would have to be some sort of monumental change in all sorts of things before I would put my, cast my vote for Trump or Vance. Vance especially. I mean, look, after what Vance did to Zelensky in Munich, that was it for me. I was done with him. So,
oh, please. I was done with after what Vance did to my lazy boy sofa.
I was about to ask if it was about the couch.
I mean, come on.
I mean, you can dry clean only so much.
Can I get a brief summary? I didn't understand what's happening with the
basically
couches.
The joke about the couch.
Yeah. So he had a book, and in the book he wrote that he used to I'm going
to correct you.
Yes.
Have sexual relations with a
not
couch.
true.
That is not actually in the book. So if you go and fact check, that is not in the book. There is a
someone
meme.
found an old copy of it, like the revised edition doesn't have it.
It's a no copy. So both Rolling Stones and New York Magazine.
He's still a freak
the New Yorker, Rolling Stones have investigated this fully. It is not real. Having said that, it's good enough that I don't care if it's real or not.
That's
there was
bing, 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 bing.
There was somebody who reported that there was a passage in that book that what he used to do for want of female attention was to take a latex glove, put it in between the sofa cushions, and I will let you do the rest.
I was an adolescent boy, believe it or not, at one point in my life. I know with all the gray hair that you can't believe it, but it's true. We all did pretty despicable things during puberty. We didn't put it in a book. and also people, if you're in the public eye, the fact that people would even find that story to have traction in and of itself is pretty disparaging, right? The dude's a freak. The dude is an outright. And he's also an albatross around Donald Trump's neck.
Great
you can
VP
say
pick.
what you want about what the
Delighted.
DNC. Yeah. You can say what you want about the way the DNC shook this out, but waiting until after the Republican convention and after he locked himself into a VP as disastrous as Vance to change everything up was, I mean, we'll see what the truth is, how that all formulated. But from my perspective, it was a masterstroke, and they totally outmaneuvered Trump.
So Trump has a rally coming up in Boston, which is just a few miles away from me. So, and my understanding is he's bringing Vance. So IKEA has closed all the stores for the week. And,
I was going to ask if you were going to go dressed as a couch.
Absolutely not. No. No, I would rather go as liberal, like as anything else. I am less likely to be violated if I go as, actually, I'm least likely to be violated if I go as Melania Trump. I think there's no way he's going to go anywhere near that. But
oh man. So this entire conversation took a direction I wasn't expecting, but I gotta say I love it.
Plus, if you go back in Vance's history, it's only a few years back where he was calling Donald Trump some of the worst names possible. The whole, but I could have some political power. Oh, you're okay then. I mean, it's just so pathetic,
I do actually really want to go back to Ukraine because there's so much to say there, but I'll say this before we go. What Philip said is absolutely true about Vance, and what makes it great is Vance. Normally, you try to pick a candidate. If you're sort of in the center of your party, you pick a candidate that's a little more to the other side. And Trump picked one that lines up with him, which means moderates have no incentive to go in that direction. In fact, he is scaring moderates away.
I'm pretty sure they were lined up front to stern while they had that chat.
Yeah, this was if you are against Trump, this was a great. I mean, it's great news.
I heard.
And I want to get off of the American politics as well. But before we do, one last comment on that is that sadly, it isn't just American politics. It is Ukraine, because one of the most important things that are going to happen in the rest of this year is going to be the American elections, because it will decide if support for the next 4 years is steady and reliable. Not that it has even under Biden, but setting that aside, it'll be a hell of a lot worse if Trump gets in. So American politics is a Ukrainian story, for better or worse. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the American people want to support Ukraine. I think Donald Trump is a terrible candidate, and he's now got Vance saddled to him as well. But obviously, we can't take our foot off. For those of us who are single issue voters in the form of Ukraine, we can't take our foot off the brake, and we've got to tell all of our friends, family, and people you meet on the street, just grab them and say, "Are you registered?"
And just FYI, in terms of why Trump is so terrible, aside from the Ukraine issue, Trump in his remarks, now this was his remarks that he made attacking Harris this morning. In his remarks, former President Trump told Christians that they, quote, won't have to vote anymore if they got him reelected this November. That is a terrifying thing to hear from somebody who is running for the office of arguably the single most powerful person.
Even more terrifying that people will still vote for him after a statement like that, or make excuses and say, no, CNN misrepresented it.
I'm trying to figure out which word would in the context. I don't know.
Well, I definitely would like to move to the topic of Ukraine. The only closing thing I'll say is one hilarious thing I saw was 2 articles that were 2 days apart last week. And it was one where Nikki Haley puts full support behind Trump at RNC, and then 2 days later, Nikki Haley Political Action Committee fully endorses Kamala Harris.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
Yep. All right.
So
Well,
who wants to go where here?
Well,
I want to talk about the lovely calculation error the Pentagon made.
Oh yeah.
Wait, the Pentagon made a mistake?
Yeah.
U.S. Pentagon?
That very one.
Okay.
I think it's like
a
$8 billion mistake.
Oh, for the Pentagon, $8 billion.
A little bit.
That's too much of a
No,
mistake.
Thursday
this latest one
morning.
was 2, but it's still.
Yeah, have you heard of
Yeah,
Vietnam?
it's
Anyways, please.
What wasn't it like $1 trillion for Afghanistan?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
But
Well, I covered both Afghanistan and Iraq, and yeah, the excess was crazy in both places.
it's so weird the way they did it. This is the old article about it.
But it was stateside, right? The money was lost.
Yeah.
Not here in Ukraine. It was back stateside where it was.
Yeah. So what happened was
Is
they
it in the couch,
misappropriated.
under the glove. I mean,
Quote,
what,
unquote.
you know?
They used like the replacement value instead of the depreciated value.
Okay,
So
this is in calculation for assets sent to Ukraine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so with the specific example, there's one example here where they say the GAO report, like in it, 10 vehicles were valued at big number, about 7 million USD. When the supporting documentation showed they should have been valued at 0, which is their net book value. So that's kind of like what the kind of issues that have been going on. There's kind of this inconsistency with how do they have to, calculate the value of items that are being sent.
Well, and items that they would have the other thing that they don't do, of course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 of those dogs that Macmillan has, and I'm just going to start quoting what he said. You can just like put Macmillan, because this is what he would tell you, which is they're also not deducting the when we have to store those, and even like, I mean, the rubber on the tires will fail if you don't go out and drive them and do some form of basic maintenance. So you're talking about all of these maintenance costs that we now no longer have to pay and would have had to pay for 5-10 years, however long before we did something with it anyway. So there's the actual quote cost of the vehicle if we were to buy it brand new, which is what the Republicans like to use and emphasize in their talking points. And then there's the real cost of
the maintenance cost on top of it.
Exactly. And I'm going to be cynical here, but it's true, and we have to, especially since we are the ones who are talking about what the cost is to us, we have to calculate this too, which is some of the weapon systems that are going have never been combat tested. And Ukraine has been giving us feedback on how our own weapons have been working in a real combat environment. And then we take that and make our weapons better. So the U.S. is becoming stronger because of other people dying in wars using our weapons, telling us how well they work or how badly they work. And
I mean, specifically like the Boeing sub, what were those?
What was the glide one that was shot out of the ATACMS, where then it would pop out and glide? That doesn't seem to work. I forgot the nomenclature for it.
The problem was there's too much electronic warfare going on. Like the drones and signal jamming caused a problem. And that was a lot of money that was spent on developing that and then going. But this accounting error now means that there is $2 billion more that can be sent in arms to Ukraine.
Let's do it.
More the merrier, right? Yeah.
I thought they announced it that it was $8 billion that they're going to transfer by November. I think that's why I said $8 billion, but
I think you might be thinking of the seized assets. That might be the seized asset story as opposed to the.
I have it right here. It's it's U.S. financial aid. United States has pledged nearly $8 billion in direct budget support to Ukraine by November.
Yeah,
it's part of a 61 billion package.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
So
part of the last.
that's the thing that Commander said last time. He said, like, there's the big package, but then they keep announcing, like, oh yeah, this amount is coming, and we think it's like extra,
right? But it's not. It's out of that total. Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet, actually, just because. So here's the other thing: it's hard to tell how pro-Ukraine Joe Biden is, and one of the reasons is because I expect it's actually fully possible that he had one of the generals call up the Pentagon and say, we're going to change how we calculate the numbers, and that in a form where they were calculating them based on just this, they're going to say, no, we should have done it the other way and actually find more money that way, so that they are deliberately playing shenanigans so they can say, oh, there's another $2 billion, and Republicans can't get pissed at us because it's actually already been allocated. And then just blame the Pentagon. And by the way, it's equally possible that the Pentagon screwed it up. I mean, those things happen all the time. Yeah. But you can't ignore the possibility that screw-ups like this that are in our favor were actually deliberate and on some level either pre-planned or an opportunity where they saw and they said, hey, if we just change how we calculate this, and that stuff's done all the time with unemployment figures and this and that, and here they're just applying it to.
I had a fever dream a few days ago, which I'll just repeat here. And I know this is probably highly unlikely, but seeing as the Supreme Court has basically made the offices of the presidency now a kingship, why doesn't Biden just like go call up SecDef Austin and say, I'm just going to take this. I'm not even going to go through appropriations. I'm just going to take it. It's in the best interest of the nation. The Supreme Court says I can do anything I want. I want all the F-16s. I want all the ATACMs. Just send it, and then pardon Austin maybe a couple weeks before he leaves office.
I think the
Supreme Court says he could do it.
In my view, and this is just just common sense, I think the president should just use his new powers to go back and say, oh, we were wrong. We lost the war with Mexico, and Texas won the South Secession. Build the wall around Texas. Problem solved.
I'd say Florida, but okay.
I was just going to say.
Sir, why limit yourself to one state?
We can come together on this. Let's unite.
Yeah, we can flood part of Florida to get rid of that part. Yeah, we just have to flood some areas. No big deal. We got that covered.
But I mean, I say it was a fever dream, but in all seriousness, I mean, there's nothing stopping Biden from doing that.
Yeah,
If he really wanted it, he won't do it because that's not who Joe Biden is. I have my issues with Joe, and I have reasons why I think he's been a great president. But he could just like open up the armory and say, take whatever you want, I'll cover for you.
I mean,
and they can't be stopped.
I'm not convinced because of a law that was passed. And again, now I really wish Commander was here so that I could look even smarter by stealing his notes. There was a law passed right after. Okay, so originally in the Constitution, the president, in order for to keep the balance and separation of powers, president was commander in chief and could do anything he wanted to with the military, anything he wanted to, so long as it didn't, so long as he recognized posse comitatus. So he could invade any country, he could do what, and that Congress had no powers. Right after 9/11. Congress decided to put a 30-day limit on it, which means he could actually do anything he wants for 30 days. Then he has to get congressional approval. But that even is, I think, for the declaration of war. So technically he could go a little longer as long as he didn't declare. And there's all of these loopholes. So it's been a while since I've looked at it, but I think that would probably inhibit his ability to do it. What he can do, though, is he still has unlimited draft. And my suspicion is the entire state of Texas could fall under eminent domain. So just call up Texas and say, okay, when we deduct the value of 30% of your budget coming from the federal government, when we deduct the value of everything that you're getting from not the IMF, the Federal Reserve, when we deduct the value of the interstate highways and everything that you're doing with that, and when we add the value of what we're willing to maybe trade with you for your oil, eminent domain comes down to about $5 or $6. So we just take Texas, give them $5. Texas is we make it a territory or something like that, and we're good.
Damn, Nick, all this talk about Texas oil, you're taking the term Texas Taliban a little too literally.
I have some issues with Texas. I'm just saying, in case you haven't noticed, it's a bit of a trigger.
But we do have to step it up. We do. Nick, you're absolutely right. I mean, Biden. I got a lot of time for Joe Biden, especially in the fact that he's stepping down. But we have not been. I mean, where is the 61 billion? Well, I haven't seen a strong result on the actual battlefield from this massive influx. And something tells me someone somewhere is keeping their powder dry for something. Something is going on that behind the scenes that we don't know. Whether it's the F-16s or the 61 billion. Something.
Well, when you say someone, you mean someone within the U.S., like either a faction like the Republicans or the Democrats, or do you mean a country like Poland or?
No, I think NATO military command. I'm talking about purely a military. There has got to be a reason why the F-16s are not in the air. There's got to be a reason why we are not seeing a massive influx of hardware. We've seen ammunition, but we haven't seen a lot more. Like, we need more Bradleys here. We need more, we need more ATACMs. We need more Patriots. We need more. Where is that 61 billion? Why is it being slow walked? And I'm not leaping to the conclusion that it's nefarious. I'm suggesting, but by the way, I'm also not taking that off the table, that there is something nefarious going on. But there is another alternative. And I think the other alternative is there might be a plan in place to hit real hard in one kind of, in some sort of massive attack that changes the narrative. And whether or not that, as I say, they're keeping their powder, the possibility they're keeping their powder dry for some sort of very effective, very noticeable shock and awe, basically.
Maybe like a D-Day type thing.
But something's up.
Okay.
Well, something's up because we should see a lot. We should have seen a bigger kinetic change on the battlefield. We haven't.
I hope if I may comment on that. I kind of don't want to comment on that because I really hope you're right. I am not convinced that that's the case.
Nor am I.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay. Well, there you go.
My fundamental point is that something is going on that we do not know, because all the things that were released by the 61 billion, all the effort to bring the F-16s into the theater of war, it should have happened. Something is obstructing it. And again, I don't know if it's nefarious or I don't know if it's some form of battle plan, but it's not normal that we haven't seen a result of all these different changes.
Can we phone Commander Macmillan?
Do you have any suspicions as to what it is?
I'm about to channel Macmillan again, because here's what I'm going to say. I think you may have a point, but I would go at it from the other direction. And instead of saying that it may be NATO or pro-Ukrainian forces that are having an active plan, perhaps it is a passive plan. Not only has Shinsek, whatever his name is, gone for a economic advisor, no less, which Macmillan has, I would imagine on this show, has talked about why Putin would replace his top military guy with an economic advisor instead of a military guy. That Macmillan opines on that pretty frequently, and I think that's important. But as you had said earlier, all of these generals are now going. So here's the question. Given that we can only see publicly about 10 to 15% of the picture of what's going on, but that picture shows that Putin is dramatically changing how he's approaching this war, and it is going from much more of a military mindset to an economic mindset. If NATO is aware of that, and if NATO is aware of another 20 or 30% that we are not aware of, are they deliberately slow walking this because they say either A, we may not end up needing it, for some significant reason, whether it's Putin gets replaced, whether it's a complete and total economic collapse of Russia, whatever it is, or because they say there's going to be a window soon, probably given that. But what I would do is look at what's happening in Russia as a whole, and it is staggering what is happening in the upper echelons of the military. So what I would suggest to you is you're absolutely right that it is something, but if we're going to look for a clue, I wouldn't look for that clue in NATO. I would look in Russia.
Slavie, you wanted to get in there too, right?
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask if there's any suspicions as to what it is, what it could be that's holding everything back.
Well, I think Nick's point is well taken. It might be that they know something's going on. Who saw the interview with Syrski? Luke Harding's interview with Syrski. And it was backed up by other prominent Ukrainian generals saying that they think that Russia has about another month and a half of capacity for offensive operations. So maybe they're waiting them out in that capacity, and then they can counter, and come back once they've spent their their efforts. I don't know, but
did you
again,
see that
Nick,
that
you
Russia
have
is putting out a bounty if once F-16s start flying, Russia put out a bounty on whoever shoots them down.
Well, and there's a problem there because even with the F-16s, the last I spoke with Commander McMillan about this issue, and it's been a little while, one of the things that he said is all the F-16s would help improve air parity, not air superiority. But if Philip's point is correct, and I suspect it may be, that their offensive capabilities are going to plummet, and the ability for them to maintain any significant anti-air capabilities plummet. There is a huge, and I mean huge, costed human and military equipment lives if you wait on those F-16s for a month and a half, because if their ability if their anti-air ability just completely collapses, now if you supply the F-16s, Ukraine gets air superiority instead of parity.
Right.
Pick your moment.
My thing is just, well, if it is a thing like you say, where they're waiting for the right time for Russia's, resources basically to fall a bit, it kind of brings up the fact, understand that there's tactical decisions being made, and it is war is a tactical thing, but at the same time, our guys are dying.
I know.
And that is
that's
the thing. We have to wait for a certain amount of time, or can we just then as supporters get an indication how many
Syrski is that kind of commander.
Yeah, but how many Ukrainians need to die before people take action? Because if we can just get the ballpark, just give us the figure, and we can adjust our expectations accordingly. Almost to an extent, because that's really how it feels. It feels like we're at a point where we're how many more atrocities need to happen? How many more many more Ukrainians need to die before something is done?
Mm-hmm. My favorite human being ever to have lived is Martin Luther King Jr. I learned who he was in 8th grade, had a poster of him, and Dick's seen it from the show. I always had the poster in the background. That's the same poster I had since the 8th grade. And the reason I bring it up is because he talks a lot about pain, suffering, how many people have to die or go through any number of absolute tragedies in order to fix things. And for people who wanted to go out and, people like Malcolm X, who had a very different approach to getting justice for a true unjust system, they're like, oh, Martin Luther King Jr., let's just sit here and get beaten on, which was not what he was saying, but that's what people heard. The reality is Ukraine is getting beaten on. There is very, very little relief, and it is inherently unfair. And it's not unfair on a human, it's unfair in how could there even be a God that would permit something like this? The reality is first of all, somebody pointed this out, which it's entirely possible that the reason those have been delayed is because of complete fuck ups by NATO, US, and said that before, so we can't. But just to address something in the live chat, what we all know, we are speculating. Don't take anything any of us has said as we know what's going on. It's entirely possible somebody didn't dot an I, cross a T, and all of those F-16s got sent to the McDonald's down the block, who's sitting there going, "Can I take your order?" And they're like, "Yeah, can I get some jet fuel and maybe some fries?" But so we don't know. But the reality is, I can see if they have something planned and they tell the Ukrainians, "Look, hold out for another month and a half and we'll be there." As soon as they say that, the Russians say, "Oh, all we have to do is rejigger for another 2 months, and then we can surprise attack and wipe out half their F-16s." That is deeply unfair. That is asking more of any human being than they should have to be asked in their lives, and it is being asked of Ukrainians. And it's not because they're bad people. It's not because of anything other than they're in the wrong country at the wrong time with the wrong president in Russia who wants to conquer the fucking planet.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm gonna jump in here and get some shout out super chat things and whatnot caught up, because we got a decent list here and I don't want to get too far behind. We got UTV and Ham in the chat there, gifting out 5 memberships. Thank you very much, buddy. We've got just James Random 7080 with a super chat. Support to Ukraine from Scotland. Welcomed and thank you. Taste to la Kulakun. I'm still not sure what the hell to do with that one, man. Gifted out 5 Shills memberships. So Tasty, thank you. How about we'll just do that as a short form for now. We got Helena as a member. So thank you. Awesome. Welcome to the family and all that good stuff. We've got Tyler Dowdy. This was a direct donation. $33 as well, for whatever fundraiser you see best. Well, we have 2 on the go. We're going to talk about them in just a minute. So thank you, Tyler. We've got Putin himself. Things are beeping over here. Thank you, Canada, for all your forest fire smoke. Yeah, sorry about that. There's a lot to go around right now. My eyes are burning and it's hard to breathe. The air purifiers are on overtime. Last year, we were all buying those box fans and putting filters directly on them, taping them on with duct tape or gaffer tape, whatever you want to call it, right? Just to purify the air. It was so bad. Petra Olsen came in with 129 Swedish kroner with love to Ukraine. I didn't even have to look and read the message because I know what it's going to be. Thanks, Petra. Generic username, $10 into the pot here. Orc intelligence officer got toasted via car bomb in Moscow. How do you suppose that wondrous magic happened? That we'll have to get back to for a little, for sure. Blonde Bombsheller came in. I think it's a member renewal message, if I've got that right. We've got a generic username in the chat, gifting out Shills memberships. Trains and Games Byron became a member of the channel, so thank you there again. Putin there came in again with another super chat. I'm missing the Colorado Ukrainian Food Festival. Oh, that sounds like it would be great. That's cool. Yvonne Way threw a super sticker into the fun there. Thank you. And Ken Patterson gave out 5 Shills memberships as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. And one more that just came in that I can grab. We had a direct payment of $10 come in, but there's no note, and I don't want to just dox anybody out. So somebody can it's a direct tip from, well, it says anonymous in the stupid thing. I'll refresh it after, see if we can figure this out. Love to all the Shills. Thank you so much for all you do for Ukraine, everyone. Please help complete the Project Tatiana campaign for Peter. Yes, that's going to be shouted out in just a second here. So thank you. I don't know why it says anonymous, because I bet it's not supposed to be. So number 1, we've got a fundraiser going with the NAFO guys from the Portuguese battalion for a NAFO truck again. The link will be in the description. It'll be in the live chat, but even easier, you can just go to our website now, theshills.org, and we have our fundraisers thing right there. You can find it simple. So give us a hand. Let's get another truck bought, shall we? I think it's a great idea. And then we've also got, and the window just goes away. That's a very strange thing. Sorry about that. And we've got Jana's fundraiser through Project Constantine as well. Tell us about it there, Jana.
Yeah, so we are currently at 108,000 pounds. So we're almost we're about 1/3 of the way there. And yeah, it's good. We got 2 NATO trucks from Jake Bro's campaign, so that went to our guys.
Awesome.
We also Pete bought a car. He paid. So we've got John, who was on our stream a while back, John Parker in the UK, and he has like a background in cars, basically. So he looks at auctions, and then he finds good cars for us there. He's like, hey, this is how much the car will cost. Do you want, or like, this is how much he thinks we should pay for it and bid for it and everything. So the other day I bought my first car, and Halina was like, how does that feel? I'm like, not real, because it's not coming to me. So
Congratulations.
but it was still really, thank you. It was really cool. It's I don't even remember what car it was. But it's
real
some other
automotive
truck.
person here.
It's some other truck here. So yeah, we're keeping an eye on those auctions. The first one should be from those cars that we bought. The first should be arriving in like around beginning of August, along with 10 Blue Eddies that we bought for the guys. So things are going good with regards to that.
Cool.
Then also, Pete's old commander's wife, she's awesome and very involved with fundraising and everything. She had a fundraiser to buy rifle scopes, or night vision. Halina will probably correct me. But yeah. We're also continuing with like our old cars that we used to have when Pete was still with us, which today it's literally a month since he was killed.
Yeah.
Today. But those cars have all gone to the guys, and we're kind of helping them with maintenance costs, like any repairs that need to be done, we're covering that.
Right.
Yeah.
I just found out it's Sally Lulls in the chat that had done that direct tip that we thought was anonymous, and I knew the service was being a jerk off. So there we go. Thanks, Sally.
And then one last thing, we have our Adopt a Starlink campaign, which is basically because we don't want the guys to have to pay for the Starlinks. We've got a bunch of Starlinks. There are 11. They can only afford to pay for 2. So we've now got a thing where you can adopt a Starlink. And if you do, we also designed new patches that they can show us. So
yes,
you adopt that, you get a patch. And I'm also talking to a Ukrainian illustrator who will be designing a patch for this as well. But you can get this so long as well. And for that, the link is in our Buy Me a Coffee. And if that doesn't work, you can just send us an email and tell us like, so we already have someone who adopted a Starlink. Like,
cool.
Yay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's everything.
And listen, you don't have to you don't have to put it through college. So there's no college education. It's really easy to do. So the Adopt a Starlink program is a really great idea, and it saves lives.
They
it doesn't
potty train in like 2 weeks.
No.
So, yeah.
So let's, I think everybody needs to. There should be more happening there, I think.
Yeah. And right now we just have like a limited amount, but if it goes well, we can maybe start rolling out more of it. Yeah. Yeah. I think
all right.
that's it
So
from my side.
Where should we go next here? I'm mostly caught up over here. I've got this whole thing going on, so I don't want to lead any of the chatter too much. Who, what, where, when, or why? Sakai there.
I just realized I was on mute.
Oh, that explains a lot. I'm in a good mood. No, I'm just.
Well, I was going to say before we move on to more news, because we got plenty we can cover. I just wanted to say a reminder to everybody that there's also a fundraiser for a member of the Shills team going on right now. I went ahead and just made a donation myself to the fundraiser for wonderful CF Beauty, Annette, who helps with a lot of stuff here around the Shills. And I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, although I'm sure someone already has, most likely, a link to that GoFundMe page. And what I'd like to do is offer, because I know she's going through a lot right now, if anyone wants to pledge or make a donation to that, I will match the donations that come in for the rest of the show.
Wow. Guys, everybody, that doesn't happen very often. But make him put his money where it is. Donate.
Yep.
Go.
Nick's
go.
Like,
That's
do it. Jump on it. Yep.
Jump on it.
All right. Yeah, we'll get the link in here for you. I can click the share button here because I get the nice little small link, and here you go. There we go. All right. Look at that. We're being very socially conscious to do what we have to do today. I'm proud of everybody. You all have done very well. Why do I feel like I'm teaching kindergarten here? What the hell?
I don't know. It does kind of feel like that. Thanks for the validation.
Did we get a gold star?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
I'm gonna open the show next week with the mirror. I see Nicholas. I see Jana.
All right. Well, I guess moving from here then, next thing I've got some news here, some big news actually, which puts me in a good mood, and actually, if it's cool for me to share my screen, maybe Phil, your Ukrainian and Russian and general Cyrillic reading is, I think, a little better than mine.
Okay.
I've got
no pressure.
I've got the names and faces here. Announced
naming names
from Ukraine's Defense Intelligence and on pravda.com.ua. Several individuals who have been identified and publicly announced as war criminals responsible for the launching of Iskander missiles, operational and tactical systems, and attacks against Ukrainian civilians. So, I mean, I don't have to share my screen, but I thought that might be something. Do we want to put that on the screen? What do you say, Dick? It's your channel.
Go for it. Sure.
Okay.
Why the hell not?
All right, I'm about to share, and I've got 8 people here with their names in it's Cyrillic in Russian, I'm assuming.
Well,
let's make sure it shares properly.
Here we go.
Yep. And
it's Ukrainian.
It's not coming up. Hold on.
War
you guys go
criminals from the 31st Battalion, 112 Rocket Brigade, and 1st Tank Army, Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. This is written in Ukrainian, so this is a Ukrainian doxing out these guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asokin, Vasily Yurovich,
Roman
yeah.
Sergei
Alexandrovich Tikhomirov,
yeah, and
Vladimir Igorovich Udin.
Yeah,
and then that's just a cookies warning at the bottom.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Says we got an echo. Okay.
Oh,
I forgot. Teams Team screen share gives me a duplicate audio. I forgot about that. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, I remember. Oh God, those.
I hate that.
And then we have a few more down here. Serhei Vic.
Guys, we can't just ask Slavie to read this for us.
This is true. Slavie, do you want to read it so
Thank
we
you
don't?
to Adam Scott for pointing that one out to us.
Where are you at right now? At whom?
These are the other 4 who are listed in the article here.
Okay. We got Ponomarev, Filin, Izvaltsev, and Sukhorokov.
Okay. So
there we go.
Yeah, and are these?
But it's still the same unit.
Oh yeah, it's still the same
31st
unit.
Battalion, 112th Rocket Brigade.
Yeah, and so basically, I just wanted to share this because it seemed rather significant that these people have been publicly named, so they aren't able to just hide behind anonymity from the scale of this war. Investigators and analysts of Defense Intelligence of Ukraine have identified 30 people on top of these 8 that we've just shown here from the command staff of the 112th Missile Brigade of the military unit 03333 of the 1st Guards Tank Army of the Moscow Military District of the Russian Armed Forces, who were directly involved in the missile attacks in Sumy and Kharkiv Oblast. So, yeah. The fact that they have been publicly named, the fact that, it has basically been publicly announced that justice will be sought against these 30 individuals, I thought was something of note we might want to share here with everybody.
Talking about investigations, did you say that there's also investigating in Kyiv region with over 2,000 witnesses and numerous collaborators, which are defined, but this is crucial for documenting the war and the war crimes, but 2,000 witnesses.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It's always a mixed blessing, right? Because it's like Russia is not a part of the criminal court, which is actually exclusively the U.S.'s fault, speaking of, but nonetheless, it's good to hear it acknowledged, but you also have to realize the limitations. I'm delighted it's acknowledged. I don't want to.
Oh no. Oh no. I understand, and I will keep my own emotions separate and just maintain strategic ambiguity on the topic. But I will say that publicly being named and their faces being known. Justice comes in many forms.
Justice comes in many forms. Exactly. Justice comes in many calibers. I mean, forms. Sorry. That's frog in my...
Precisely. I mean, if things can be planned out so that a truck suddenly spontaneously combusts over the Kerch Bridge, anything can happen.
Yeah. It's a dangerous area.
It's smoking cigarettes.
Well, and there are a lot of open windows around there too.
What else have we got?
So we've got the guy who got blown up. Can we talk about that?
Oh,
the Russian guy
Moscow?
who got blown up.
Which one?
Deputy FSB.
Which one?
Yeah.
It reminds me of a good old SCTV skit from the early 80s in Canada. May the good Lord take a liking to you and blow you up real good. You'd have to see it, but it's funny as hell.
All right.
I forgot what his title was, but he was like a deputy general
or something.
Yeah.
He's high up in the FSB.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And he got blown. Sorry,
he got blown up with his wife.
But sadly, he's still alive.
Yeah, he didn't even get a window.
I know, but his feet are now missing, but he's still alive. Sadly.
Missing. Oh wow.
Yeah.
He should have.
They were like detached. So.
Yeah. Probably should have been blown up to window height.
Body parts missing. There was a story that came out about Ukrainian soldiers coming back to Ukraine with organs missing, and well, Russia is organ harvesting, and they've been accusing Ukraine of doing that. So it's just another example of anything that the Kremlin accuses is a confession.
What they're doing.
Every accusation is a confession. Yeah.
What in the Falun Gong Beijing black market name is that? God, that's horrible.
That's actually probably, unfortunately, probably not even Beijing. It may be, especially with their new ties, but my suspicion is it's oligarchy. It's the oligarchs.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Put it past them. So I've got the podcast here, and we're putting together tomorrow's episode because we debut every Sunday, and it's interesting that we're talking about this topic because it's Aidan Aslan is who I spoke to, and he'll be the interview tomorrow on tomorrow's show, and so obviously we talk about how POWs are treated when they're in Russian custody, and it's brutal, man. You're at the hands of absolute sadists when you are a POW, when you're held by Russian hands. And I suspect the only way he was able to get out was because he's a British national. You know what they do in those prisons, the stories he tells, which are on tomorrow's show.
It's to watch that.
You're just if one guy decides he doesn't like you, he can beat you to death, and there's nothing that'll happen. I mean, you are nothing to these guys when you're a Russian, when you're in a POW to either Russians or DPR or whatever, whoever you fall.
That's a show worth watching, and I'll tell you why. Because especially for like Americans or people who say, "Well, maybe they're good Russians," which I'm not denying, by the way, because it's not. But when they're saying, "Well, there's war crimes committed in every war," which is true, you still have to realize there is a huge difference in the Russian attitude. The Russian military has always drawn from prisons. So take the worst U.S. prison, and you have now just gotten that attitude as the average Russian military unit.
Yeah. And it's not individuals. It's not individuals. It is systemic. They build the system with the encouragement that these guys will be sadists. That's the whole point. So yeah, it's a good conversation. We debut. The easiest way to do it is on YouTube, either my own personal channel or just On the Edge with Philip Bittner. I'll warn you. It's not an easy conversation. He talks about some very disturbing things.
Is it Sean
what
or
they
Aidan
did to him.
you had on?
Aidan Aslan.
Is it Aidan? Okay.
Yeah, it was Aidan. He talks about, how they, being in there, with civilians, because he's not only in a POW camp, he's in a penal colony in the DPR, and they're taking people off the streets for being politically incorrect. For all you tankies who love Russia so much, they'll chuck you in a prison because they don't like what you say, without a second thought. And you're right, Nick. I mean, I've been in Russian prisons before when I was CBS radio reporter back in the 90s in Russia. If you become a ward of the state, if you are at the whim of the state in Russia, they can do anything to you, anything at all. And you are seen as a burden on the state. You shouldn't be there. So by that value in and of itself, we can do anything we want to you. And the stories he tells. And so to hear this now, and also on the heels of some POW exchanges that have recently happened in the last week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, the disparity between Russian POWs who are being released out of Ukraine back into Russia, they leave. They're worse for wear. They've been POWs. They're not exactly, rosy cheeked and all the rest of it, but they're walking of their own volition. They're human beings. You see Ukrainian POWs being returned to Ukraine after being in Russian hands. They're emaciated. They show obvious signs of torture. They are the look in their eyes,
Yeah.
And now this Oregon story. I mean, and Nick, you're absolutely 100% right. This kind of false equivalency of war crimes or treatment of POWs or targeting civilians, it's vastly disproportionate. It is very clear the difference between Russian and Ukrainian tactics and behaviors. It's just watch the show. It's a tough watch, but it's one worth watching. We debut it 8 p.m. 2000 hours Kiev time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and anywhere in between. It runs about an hour. We're just finishing up editing it, but it's worth a watch because it further exemplifies how black and white this is. There's a good side and a bad side.
I wanted to thank you for taking on the story and using your platform and getting it out there. So thank you. It's very important that the world knows about this.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. And what you were saying before, it is extremely disproportionate. And I actually had an uncle years ago who told me, I might be paraphrasing, but he told me, war is always hell, but some armies have more demons than men.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, spot on.
And that's definitely Moscovia in this context.
It's all demons in that case.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they encourage it. It's the only way to survive in Russia. Either you're a victim or you're going to abuse somebody, and that's from the top down. That's from Putin down, and that is deliberate. That's not an accident.
Yeah.
That's what they think. That's the Medved culture, the big bear who's
binary.
Yep.
Somebody wins, somebody loses.
I don't want to feed into stereotypes, but one thing that I have noticed a lot, just in general, with Russian Moscovian history over centuries, it really just seems like there's this expectation, knock someone else down before someone knocks you down, and that's like taken into account with everything in life, and it's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
There is just a little precedent for that in nature, in as much as survival of the fittest. But the fittest doesn't necessarily mean the strongest, the most bulliest. And it turns out that we as a species learned to cooperate and said, hey, wow, when we share, when we work together, when we're compassionate, all of a sudden, look at what we can do. But the Russians have not left literally the Hobbesian state of nature mindset. That is their mindset.
Nasty, brutish, and short.
Yeah.
And Sting has a song called Russians, and the lyric, I hope Russians love their children too. They don't.
Sadly, they're willing to put anybody on the line for it. They don't care who's in the line of fire as long as they're empiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if you'll indulge me for a moment, there's something I have been saying I've been covering Russia and the former Soviet Union for over 25 years, going on 30 years. So it tells you how old I've been covering, but I was in Moscow in the 90s. And I really gave serious thought to this perception of the difference between the West and in particular America and Russia. So if you'll give me a moment here and indulge me, I'll explain my kind of thesis. My basic thesis on this is that a lot of people say that America is America and Russia are like a dark mirror to one another, both enormous, both multicultural, both with access to the Pacific and the Atlantic, so many similarities, but there are these inflection points where we just go completely different. And I think a fundamental one, and to understand the difference between the West, exemplified by America, and Russia, is that Russia clawed its way out of nature. It clawed its way out of subjugation by the Golden Horde. So the first thing that they do is they build a Kreml. They build a castle. They knock down the trees. They build a castle. Everybody goes inside the walls, but they're always aware that the wolf is out there coming to get you. It comes from a place of trying to find a safe space from the constant aggression of nature. it's a very pessimistic, nihilistic, negative perspective. Whereas Americans fought their way into nature with the concept of we can make this place better for all of us to live, and better, and for the betterment of the community for all of us. The rampant capitalism and being what all you can point your criticism of America as long as you like, but this inflection point I think is really good for understanding the fundamental difference between these two warring perspectives on how human beings should interact. One is positive, going into nature to develop communities that are best for everybody, and the other one is fearful and is instantly defensive and comes from a place of fear, and everything springs from that. So they are violent and brutal because they are afraid that if they are not violent and brutal with others, that the other will be violent and brutal with them. And
that is the best I've ever heard it put.
This is a psychosis. It is an illness within their society that they're aware of it too. If you spend enough time with Russians, you put enough vodka into them, especially, they know very well the deficiencies within their own psychology and the illness, the poison that is within their own society. They won't admit it to you the next day when they're sober and bright-eyed, and they will use it for their advantage when they feel that they need to, express the Ruskaya Dusha, the Russian soul. Right. But they are very scared, pessimistic, angry people because of where they come from. Whereas the West has taken on a much more positive, albeit with a lot of flaws, outlook on life. And I know which side of the fence I'm on. That's why I'm in Ukraine.
I was speaking with a good friend, an elderly friend, the other day, and they were telling me their thoughts on everything happening with Russia and Ukraine, and really just Russian history of aggression in general with neighbors, with everyone. And they told me, have your own opinion on this if you want, but as horrible as Manifest Destiny, for example, was in the US, and it was horrible, at least that's been left behind in the past. But this Russian shit just keeps on going. It just never seems to have a true stopping point. It just morphs into something new and terrible.
Yeah.
Came close in 92, but yeah, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
Hold.
Yeah.
On that, I do want to say, get this book, guys.
I so want to get a copy of that. I really do. You've spoken about it before.
Russian Colonialism 101.
Ooh.
By Maxim Eristavi. Yeah.
I so want to get a copy of that.
Yeah.
There's a bookstore in Kyiv that sells it.
Well, and Lance, if you talk to Lance too, he'll talk about exactly what Philip said, going all the way back. He'll go back like several thousand years and just talk about the czars and how it's Philip has it. It's always been that way.
Yeah, go back to the Vikings, man.
Yeah, he does. It's always nice talking to a graduate from the Naval War College. It's just like
and wait, Jana, remind me. I've been meaning to read that book. Remind me if I'm wrong. Maxim is a journalist, but also
he's a journalist and an activist, a civil liberties activist.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to remember if
does he live here in Kiev?
I'm not sure where he's based, but he is in Ukraine. If he's not,
I'd love to have him in the studio.
I'll reach out to him and find out if he's interested.
That'd be cool.
Because I'm very much like I have his number, but I don't want to share it because I don't want to just violate someone's privacy.
Yeah.
But he's super awesome.
I wouldn't want you to.
Yeah, no. He was actually on the Sunday show with the Net. He was like our first guest that we had there. But he's really, really awesome. Yeah.
Shoot me the details and I'll reach out. Or ask him first, obviously, and then
I will.
And then I'll reach out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or send him Philip's contact information so he can.
Yep.
We got
absolutely. You have my permission.
Thanks.
Killer. We got a direct donation in from Carl Gustav for Project Constantine. Keep it going. Watching your stream as often as possible. So thank you. I'll send that over after the show.
Also, Dick, before I forget, right before the show, I had a stream on Tridents earlier, and I've been doing this thing where I do a poll to decide where a donation is going to go. And the Shills actually happened to win this week. Do you have any particular place you prefer for me to send that?
Yeah, I'll give you the PayPal account that I use for sorting and sending it and doing all that stuff and whatnot. So cool. It's just the email account for the it's in the top link there, actually, in the chat.
Oh, perfect. All right, I'll send it there.
PayPal/the Shills. That's what it is. I could barely even remember half the time, damn it. Had a couple people wondering, Nick, if you're seeing the live chat, and they just wanted to say, great to have you back and all. So
I've been watching the live chat. I've seen a lot of familiar faces. I've seen a lot of welcome backs, and I really appreciate it. And as I said on the last couple of shows, Annette and a few other people literally throughout the last year were passing messages on. If you sent me a message of well wishes, the chances are excellent. I got it. I got a lot, and I would come in. I said before, I had a sock account and would come in and especially just troll Dick. As I was doing that, every now and then Dick would just be like, and somebody would say, where's Nick? Where's he been? And Dick would just say, look, I've talked to him. He's doing well, but it's, family comes first. It's a family thing. So, I had to be gone for much longer than I expected. I was just like, this will be a month tops. It gave me a huge amount of time to reflect on what in time was and what we could do and where we could go. And I've talked about that. So that's a whole nother thing I won't get into again here. But I also had a lot of time to reflect and realize that the channel had so much more of an impact than I thought, just because so many people, even 6 months, 8 months after we had been off the air, continued to give well wishes, continued to bring me up on the Shills, Two Guys Talking History, a few other channels. So I cannot thank all of you enough, especially since there were dark days for everybody. We all go through them. This has been my turn. So I can't thank people like the Shills, the people who are watching this right now, and the people on our channel and other channels who just constantly, and who respected. They said, look, family, you do your thing, but wish me the best of luck. So thank you all very much. I'm getting choked up, so I'm going to shut up now. Thank you. Yes, I've been watching.
That's cool.
Yes, I've been making fun of both Dick and Dave, who, as I can tell, only now comes on in the form of a bleeding goat that I can't tell the difference between the goat and Dave, so I just assume it's Dave. But Dave, it's been so long. Again, thank you.
Cool.
I just want to say thank you to Keith Kane for adopting a half Starlink. So he has he has shared custody now of a Starlink.
You get the diaper side.
And I know Kay said she's having problems on Buy Me a Coffee. If you guys have problems, email me and I'll send you an alternative way of doing it. Thank you.
Buy Me a Coffee has been terrible lately.
Right?
Bugs. I mean, I'm not just saying with the fundraising, but like with the bugs, I can't even open it sometimes.
I'm really glad there's also Ko-Fi, because
that's what we use.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Patreon. I really don't.
Yeah.
And yes, I can still see the live chat, David.
Oh, Slavie. Well, it's actually just kind of a small thing from like last year among a few channels, because there was at one point, maybe it's better now, but at one point Patreon was favoring pro-Russian accounts over pro-Ukrainian accounts. So that's why I have personally not used it. But I
I've
also know
heard
that
Buy Me a Coffee did the same thing and shut accounts down that were fundraising for Ukrainian drones and such.
Yeah. I heard a lot about that. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess at some point, like maybe Combat Veteran Reacts, for example, you just have to make your own when everyone else says no. It's ridiculous. Well, I've got some news here we could jump into right quick, unless you got something you want to turn to right quick, Dick.
I do just want to say Ukraine might be the first crowdfunded army.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a modern war between two, considered developed nation states, industrial level capacity for their societies, I would say so. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And it's only like we got involved now, but the Ukrainians have been doing it since 2014.
Yeah.
I mean, donating
We've
to
been doing it for
hospitaliers
300 years.
Okay, that's also true.
We got a shout out I want to get in. Boom Boom Fund from Jonesy in the chat, 10 direct donations. So into the fund it goes there. Thank you, Jonesy. Thank you. There's a couple others I'm just gonna get in quick, and then we'll have 15 minutes before we're kind of wrapping it up here. We've got David N. Welcome back, Nick. So there's another one. Woohoo! And then we got Ken Patterson with a super chat as well. Will YouTube shutdown in Russia affect the state bot farms?
No.
I've heard YouTube has been leaving Russia for quite some time now. And
no, but Russia has said they're gonna restrict YouTube now.
I think what people forget about Russia when it comes to bot farms, just bot farms in general, is the fact that they're on the internet and they're a global phenomenon. I mean, if you're going to worry about it being shut down in Russia, you better look at all the other BRICS countries, guys.
Oh, yeah. It's just a set of
leave us
servers
out of
somewhere.
it.
It's no big deal,
sorry.
right?
I'm sorry. Sorry, Jana.
Yeah.
Don't bring me into your BRICS problems.
Let's just say brick. We'll leave the last part off.
We'll leave the S out. I don't even know why we're there. We
keep your
contribute
bricks
nothing.
to yourself.
Yeah.
We contribute nothing.
I've been saying this for years. I've said this, I think, on other streams. If there are three countries, I feel like if they all band together right there in Southern Africa, South Africa, Namibia, and Botswana, and maybe throw in Lesotho also because they're right there, then, I mean, you could have a trade block regionally where you could get away from BRICS. And I think that's something that would really help South Africa.
Could be.
Yeah, the problem is BRICS is really nice, especially the R side of BRICS is really, really kind to
people who break away.
The pockets of the ANC politicians.
Shocker.
We got about 15 minutes here tops. So let's turn to Phil here. Anything you want to get to before we're done and wrapped up today?
I've been getting on my soapbox and yapping enough. I thought you'd be sick of me by now, but I mean, yeah, we could talk about all sorts of stuff. The electrical situation in particular.
How is that coming along? Are the blackouts shorter for people now? I know
they've been getting
the temperature.
better.
The temperature's better, so there's not such a strain because of AC and stuff too, right? So how's it all coming along?
It seems to be getting better. We've got they put out a weekly calendar of what you can expect. What hours of the day you can be guaranteed power, and it had been about 6 hours a day. And they're still publishing it as we can guarantee about 6 hours of power a day. But as things got in the darkest before the dawn, there were extended periods of time without stuff. And now, in the last week, 10 days, as the weather has broken and it's not nearly as hot, while we're still only allocated, or we're told you can only guarantee, these 6 hours. It seems to be that they're creeping into the other hours where it's like, well, maybe you'll have power, maybe you won't. More and more, you can reliably see maybe you have it, maybe you don't, as you're probably going to have it. So
Right.
as it is getting better. Winter is still going to be very difficult. They're targeting all the infrastructure. They'll do central heating. They'll target the heating, and when it gets cold here, that's going to be a real big problem. But I think, well, we'll see. But we're looking at alternatives here for different ways of electrical generation, storage of electricity. Everybody talks about how this is the first like drone war, and Jana, you were just saying it's the first crowd-funded war. Well, you know what else it is? It's the first war where we're looking at technologies that can maneuver around this kind of an attack, where an attack on the electrical grid, the electrical infrastructure, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go dark, because we're looking at battery power. I got a massive, not 4 feet away from me, I have a massive power bank, and I can, if push comes to shove, if I were suddenly to lose power, I can plug all my lights in. I can, I lose high end Wi-Fi, but I can still rely on mobile networks and things like that. We're finding, God bless the Ukrainians. Every obstacle that is put in their way, they find a way to maneuver around it. They are so resourceful. So, people are buying, battery banks, power banks, these lithium, or, I don't know what it's lithium, I'm betting, but, I don't know exactly. And it's solid state. When you do have electricity, you charge it up. If you go through an extended period of no battery, you plug in using that. Necessity is the mother of invention. So
yeah, man,
it's awful. It's awful, but we will find a way around it. And there is no way on God's green earth that the Ukrainian people are going to be like, oh gosh, they keep bombing our electrical grid. We might as well just surrender.
Yeah, exactly.
They're delusional.
I like Zelensky's quote. This was maybe first year to the invasion, and he said, "Would you rather be without you or without gas? Without gas or without like." It was very powerful.
That was a very powerful quote.
Without you, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I've got a piece of news, an update on a particular unit or legion fighting for Ukraine that I learned about this week. Did you guys hear the news about the new classification of the Georgian Legion in their home country?
They are now a terrorist organization.
No. According to the ruling Georgian, pro-Russian, I might add, Georgian Dream Party.
Georgian Dream assholes?
Yep, the Georgian Nightmare.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a nightmare I'm afraid that Georgia might not wake up from soon enough, because it's very concerning. I've been saying this for a while, what's going on over there, but the fact now that the Georgian Legion is classified in Georgia the way that what is it, the Kolonovsky, the Belarusian regiment,
Kolomytsky, Kolomytsky, the Belarusians.
How they're classified in Belarus. I literally am seeing left and right analyses comparing Georgia to Belarus and the possibility of one party rule in the country soon. Well, more than just de facto, which is what it is. Yeah.
I wouldn't count out the Georgians. They're tough people.
Oh, they're tough.
They are tough people. They're tough. But I that's not me being flippant. I'm not disregarding that. But I do think it's important. There's the man. Look at that.
Greg.
There's trouble. There's trouble.
Trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't count out the Georgians.
I know many Georgians
we'll see what
who
happens.
Are great people, very strong-willed people, but also Ukrainians are very strong-willed and going through a lot right now. And when I look at the geography of Georgia, I don't think that they would give up. I think there would always be resistance, but I fear a lot for the logistics of how they would win their freedom if the worst were to come to pass.
It's an absolutely legitimate concern.
It's been a while since I've looked into the military strength of Georgia, which has been contributing, if I recall, to Ukraine. How much? I mean, Russia is in no position to help Georgia if there were some kind of guerrilla resistance or something like. I mean, Russia's not in that position. So, where is the strength going to come from to do that?
For the Russians, if they tried an invasion, you mean?
Well, or if there was a takeover in Georgia.
Oh, well, the Russians, they don't want that. I mean, if push comes to shove, I think they want people to be afraid of that, just like the situation prior to 2014 regarding Ukraine. But they're more than happy for Georgian Dream to do their dirty work for them. The real question is, will Georgia have a Maidan moment? And if the answer is yes, then the Russians, the ball will be in their court. What do we do now? And if the answer is no, then we just see Georgia go down the path of Transnistria or Belarus, and I mean,
or Belarus, more likely Belarus,
more like Belarus, and be entrenched. Yeah.
Let's.
They have the election in October, I believe it is. Yeah.
It's coming in October, and there will be news in October regarding this. I guarantee you.
Let's take a second and get Greg in. Greg, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, Dickie? I just wanted to fulfill my promise, stop by and say hello. As you can see, I'm in the backyard and continuing the move, continuing to take care of the mother-in-law, continuing to work on things for Pete and his family. And I've got my wife and 2 daughters are in Ecuador right now. We are a traveling family. But I've been listening while I've been working and wanted to pop in and say hello to everybody. So we're getting back on schedule. Well, no, we're not getting back on schedule. We're in the process of getting back on schedule. My studio is moving right now, and so it's moving from my old home to my new home. And my goodness, it's going to compete with Philip Ittner's On the Edge studio.
Oh, hear that.
A rising tide lifts all boats, Greg.
There
I'm happy
go.
to see it.
You have lifted me, Philip. And now Philip and I are supposed to do a program together, and we got veered off course with all the things unfolding. So we'll get that squared away. But
that's fine.
Things are well. And I just want to say hello to all the Shills community. And Dick, you've been a true friend. So all of you guys out there, I just want you to know Dick is the real deal. And I appreciate him. Appreciate all the panelists today. Jana, what's up, Chica? Secular Sakai. Nick, I've never met you. Slavie. And Dick, of course, you're the man. So
love you, buddy.
I will say this. Thank you, brother. I will say this. I was listening to you guys talk about Georgia, and I agree with everything you guys are saying. I would come at with a little bit different perspective. I have 5 zero-line soldiers that we have not heard from in 6 days now. My team talks to them every day, multiple times.
Wow.
This is not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
No, it's not good. And I won't, I can't say who and locations and all that jazz, but I'm talking, this is not a private in the trench. These are leaders. And a lot of rotational things happening on the front right now that a lot of Ukrainians are not happy about on the military side. A lot of transitions. So my point being, we can talk about all that later, especially when we have more permissions to do so. But listening to you guys talk about Georgia, Belarus, Transnistria, of course, we have the elections in the United States. We have Joe Biden stepping aside. Now what's going to happen with Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, the assassination attempt. I was just in Putler yesterday, and I did about a 10-minute live from the Ukrainian Catholic church there. It was pretty cool. Just wanted people to see it. And I took my son by where the assassination attempt took place. All of those things at my eye doctor, just getting stuff squared away so I can get rolling again. Right. So we have all of that. We have European elections, European instability. We have the war in Israel. We have Gaza. We have all of this stuff. So I would just come at it from a different perspective, and I'll be interested really to hear Philip's perspective. And Nick, nice to meet you. I look forward to meeting you because I can't see anybody but Philip. That's Microsoft Teams. But, that's, hey, the bald head is giving me light. I need a little bit of light because I only have sunlight and natural light right now. So some of the reflection off of that forehead is lighting up my forehead. So thanks, Philip, for that. Beautiful blue sky here in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
looking lovely. Yeah,
it is, man. Here's what I would say in regard to that 60 seconds I talked about just globally. The world is doing exactly what the Kremlin wants. The Kremlin wants the world talking about Georgia. The Kremlin wants the world talking about Belarus. The Kremlin wants the world. I wonder if they're going to interfere with elections. The Kremlin wants the world looking at the UN and calling it a defunct organization. The Kremlin wants the world analyzing NATO. The Kremlin wants the world looking at Israel and Gaza, and doesn't matter what side you're on, and the devastation. It just wants all that there. Why? Because that allows them to chew up inch by inch and literally melt Ukraine with nobody talking about it.
Yeah.
This is true.
Let me tell you something right now.
Controlled media.
Tourette's is a disaster. It is gone. And I know, well, we got a store open here. We got 600 here. I'm just telling you. I was just watching the drone footage of Tourette's, and it's bad. But nobody's talking about it. Why?
Right.
Because the Kremlin plays their D4, D5. They're already a step ahead, and they don't care how many they lose. They don't care what the cost is, as long as the deflection is off of Ukraine a little bit.
Yeah,
that's a gain for them. So all of these topics need to be talked about, and they're all interconnected. But for sure, for all of us, we have to shout it from the rooftops about Ukraine. I love your sign there on the edge with that blue and yellow, Phil. But
badass.
It is. I'm telling you, I'm getting ready to call some of my buddies from, let's just pick a unit. Let's go 67. No, we're going 67th. Got special buddies. There you go. We're going 67th. Philip, you may be detained for about 4 hours while they remove that sign and ship it to my house.
Then I'll get another one made. I'll get another one made, and another one made, and another one made.
No,
they're not going to knock me off the air, buddy.
Get at least 3, because if it works for him, I'm doing the same thing.
I'm telling you. The point being, guys, this is what we all do, and we're committed until victory, not until the end, but until victory, do Peramoga. And that is this. We keep Ukraine on the front page. Yep. And we do our very
I'm doing this, Greg.
Absolutely.
This is why I'm doing this.
I know exactly why you're doing it. I know why you're in Kyiv, and I know why you're doing what you're doing, because I know that's why all of us here, all of this wonderful panel, we have our own avenue, right? Our own our own avenue that we roll in to support Ukraine. But when you take a look at that from the big picture, we are making a real difference. I can't tell you, since I've returned to the U.S. from Ukraine, and I had to go to North Carolina for 5 days. I went down there just to get away with my wife and met with a counselor. It was really heavy, as you guys know, to deal with Pete, but and it was really good. But everywhere I've went, people are asking me about Ukraine again, and that is good. Because there was about 9 to 12 months, it was completely gone.
Yeah.
Completely gone. Yeah. Now people are starting to ask again. So I think all of us together are having an effect. So do not quit, guys. Do not give up.
And help one another. Help spread one another's content.
Exactly.
I mean it when I say a rising tide lifts all boats. And it shouldn't be that we have to do it, but we do. It should be our news organizations in the West, and in particular the United States. And I'm a veteran broadcast journalist. I worked for all the big boys, CNN, CBS, Fox. I know their internal discussions. It's and they are woefully letting the side down. They are dropping the ball. We should not be the ones doing this.
No. Yeah.
They should, but they're not.
Oh,
so we're going to do it.
When
and
Trump
the
got
best
shot.
way,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. You're absolutely right. I know where you're going with this.
When Trump got shot, the first thing I was thinking about, no one's going to be talking about Ahmadiyya Hospital. I was pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's literally, I agree with you there, Slavie. Whenever something happens in the world, I'm like, oh, another thing that's going to take attention away from Ukraine.
And as you were saying, Greg, you know how there's all these things that can take the attention away, and you know the Kremlin's got their paws in all of it. When the attention is taken away, that gives the political right, the opposition side, a little bit more push because there's an opening there for something, right?
Yeah, it is.
The fallout, the trickle down effect is massive, right?
We are. I will refer my comments to the commander of the 3rd Assault Brigade. Okay, so this is not my comments. And if I was in my studio and I had all my horsepower fired up, of which all I have now for a studio is my iPhone. So and my left hand and trees behind me. But I would pull this video up right now. I have it translated into perfect English. And he said, when the world stops underestimating the chess moves of the Kremlin, we will then make a move toward victory. But as long as you think they're just stupid orcs, and as long as you think their junk is trash, we will not get the support we need. The world must think ahead 2 or 3 steps, just like the Kremlin does. And that is not me. That is not a journalist. It is the commander of the 3rd Assault Brigade. Yeah. Not alone, the commander. So they know, guys. They know. And, we want that hopium. We want, they're so stupid. Oh, they're killing 700 a day. Oh, it's 1,000 a day. They don't care, guys.
Yeah. No.
When is that going to get into the understanding of those in the West? They do not value human life. It doesn't matter if he loses 5 million. It doesn't matter.
And in their head, they're winning despite
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because life is not valued to the same degree as we value it, and Ukrainians, the West values it, and.
You're absolutely right, Greg, and I think that that is something that is a trap that people tend to fall into, especially because everyone here, of course, does want Ukraine to come out on top and be able to confidently say that they have come into a better position when all this is over, get all of the land back, achieve the ultimate objective of liberating all the territories. But there's like a balance to be had between the positive things or focusing on, negative aspects of the enemy for morale and really looking at reality on the ground. Preventing copium or rose-tinted lenses from becoming something that spreads in an unhealthy fashion. And I really appreciate you coming here to keep us on track because, we're talking about a lot of different stuff, but Ukraine needs to be the top focus.
Listen, there's healthy hopium. The Ukrainian soldiers are far superior. Period.
Yeah.
There's just less of them. Reality.
Yeah.
Ukraine does wonderful things when they are equipped properly. There's just not enough stuff.
That's right.
So we can talk, we balance it with, both sides of reality. And, when I get the call last night from Jana, he goes, Greg, it's been 6 days. I haven't heard from X, 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 and X. And he goes, I'm very concerned. Okay, when Jana tells me he's very concerned, because he literally talks to these guys every day.
All the time, yeah.
No. Every day. We have check-in times. Every day.
Okay.
6 days for 6 guys now. That's a major concern.
Greg, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on the European Union considering policies to return military-aged men to Ukraine, back to Ukraine?
Slavie,
What's the word?
I will give you my opinion on that right now, point blank. For any Ukrainian that left Ukraine prior, let's call it January 2022, who was in the process of maybe they were going down a career path. I have many, many friends that moved to Europe in 2018, 19, 20, and 21. They are helping me massively out of Europe, massively. I have a whole team there in Warsaw that facilitates everything for us. All of those guys left Ukraine. They're all in their 30s, left their Ukraine 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. They were not fleeing a war. They were in life changes. They were moving on. They had no idea that what would happen in 2022 would happen. I told them point blank, I said, I don't hold anything against you. You left properly. You did visas. You had jobs. You had a wife. You had a family. You had no idea war was coming. But anybody that has left since the war started, unless there are extenuating circumstances, it's not only my opinion, but it's also the opinion of a majority of soldiers on the front. I think you're a coward and you need to get your tail back home and defend your country. I think there are extenuating circumstances. I think there are other things that need to be taken into account, for sure. It's not a rock hammer law. But if you are hiding, if you are fleeing because you are so afraid, now there is two sides to that, okay? That's one side. The other side is Ukraine has, up to this point, done a horrible job of mobilization. I'm just going to call it like it is. You promise a guy he's going to be on the back end. He's technically gifted. You're bringing him out of a accounting position. He's coming in the military to help with numbers and math and all of this. And in 2 months, he's on the zero line and he's dead. Okay, that message gets back to the family and then they begin to avoid. This is what's really happening, guys. I know for a fact right now that there are dozens and dozens and dozens of soldiers on the front line that are calling back to the West, Western Ukraine, telling their brothers and their fathers and their sons, do not come here yet. It's not right yet. Some of our commanders that I'm under are Soviet mentality, killing our guys. We do not have enough supply. Please, I know you want to come fight alongside me, but I'm telling you to wait. Don't hide, don't run out of the country, but drag it out as much as you can. So it's a very complex issue. But if you have just run away in fear, I have a problem with that personally. So
thank you.
That's my answer. I can't believe, I'm an American citizen. I've worked in Ukraine for 26 years. I spent 11 months of my life on that zero.
Yeah.
So if I can do it, you can do it. And if everybody was pulling together, you see, I think it trickles down. I think it all trickles down. When you have that type of unity displayed by Ukrainian citizens and you're not hearing these stories about, 8 guys drowned in the river trying to swim over to Romania, which are true stories. And these are the stories that the media runs with and the Kremlin pushes. All that does is disrupt support for Ukraine because the West will go, okay, why am I sending millions of dollars there when their people are trying to swim across the river? Because they will twist the story. They will twist the story that Zelensky is destroying churches and Zelensky is destroying this sect of society. It's all twisted. If we could continue to build a unified story, continue to bring unity to the war effort inside Ukraine, which all of us are assisting to do, I personally believe a lot of these stories, Slavie, like your question about what the EU has to deal with, supply from the West, I think all of that would improve, personally.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one.
And yeah, I agree completely, Greg. And I'm gonna add one little quick thing, and then I gotta go because I gotta finish editing tomorrow's show.
Well, I have to go too.
But let me, before you leave, Greg, let me just
I'm
say,
not leaving
let
yet.
me just,
I've got to go get my mother-in-law and walk her around the house. My wife's not here. She's 81 with
I can
dementia.
see the eagerness in your eyes.
Yeah, please keep me here.
No, let me just respond to something you said earlier about about not you know going for hopium or copium, or it is bad on the zero. You're 100% right, and we need to change it. And there are loads of things to do to change it and to change the narrative on the zero line. But you are right that Russia doesn't care about how many soldiers they send into the meat grinder. That's their history. That's their modus operandi. That's how they conduct war. They don't care. They have lots of people. They just throw them into the grind. That's not going to stop them. What will is when there is some sort of realization and a realization that they are losing for no good reason, and a blow to their national prestige. And that is to say, they'll kill hundreds of thousands of their own people, but if they lose their sense of pride of nation, if they lose their sense of empire, if they lose their sense of dominance, in particular of the Black Sea, and obviously other territories within Ukraine, but it's really in so many ways about the Black Sea, and they've lost the Black Sea. They will never get Odessa back. Never, never, never. I have been to Odessa repeatedly during this war. That place is a fortress, and the people of Odessa will never bend the knee to Moscow again. That kind of happens when you bomb apartment buildings and blow up historic, beautiful ancient churches that they love and are so proud of in Odessa. Odessites are incredibly proud people. They will never, and Russia doesn't have the capacity to take Odessa. And so there will be a Ukraine that will include Odessa when this war is over. And by that very value,
I completely agree with that.
Russia will never dominate the Black Sea again. And no Russian leader survives losing dominance of the Black Sea. Putin is fucked. And Russia also, when it's not the body count, it's the loss of national prestige. And that's what we need to focus on, is making them realize you guys are involved in a war. You may not care about the soldiers and the young men you're sitting here, but you're also losing your empire. Those days are gone, and gone forever. That shock to the system is really where I think the path to victory is, and why I am constantly optimistic at the end of this war. There will be a Ukraine that will include Odessa, and by that very fact, Russia will go into an absolute apoplectic fit and a real serious reassessment of who they are if they are not empire.
Yeah,
they lose Black Sea, they lose empire.
I completely agree with that. And no, Meemaw, he said trucked. Listen,
God, I was talking to a pastor.
You're good, buddy. I 1,000,000% agree with you.
That's where my hope comes from.
The other thing with Odessa,
that's where my hope
I completely agree with that. The other thing with Odessa is you have to remember it's an international city. There's a lot of foreigners there, and that ticks them off what's happening. We're talking about a lot of money that comes through Odessa internationally. So, that's another factor that a lot of times people don't think about, the international side of Odessa. In fact, it's probably the most international city in Ukraine, even more so than Kyiv, due to the port and the international flavor as the history of Odessa. So, if you go back on my stream, that's
where I have my hope, Greg.
Probably day 90.
That's where my hope comes from.
I completely agree. I personally feel that 100% Odessa will stand. If I had to guess today, it'll be difficult to hold at this point east of the Dnipro. But we're going to hold Odessa, no question. And that's not to say we're not going to hold all the others as well and take territory back, but a lot of things have to come to place. And you're right, Philip. So just to throw a little bit of fuel onto your narrative there, about prestige. And for me, the UN, United Nations, is a defunct organization. I have yet to see them do anything positive in this war, and I've seen them plenty there doing nothing, nowhere near where they should be helping. But we have a Security Council of the United Nations, and right now, July 2024, Russia is the president. So
How
these
is
things
that?
have to stop. This is their cycle month. These things have to stop. And until world leaders are bold enough
Yeah.
to stop it, it would be such a black eye for a lot of these things, because we've seen the result of the Hague and the ICC. How's
Yeah.
that working for you? The world went nuts 16 months
Yeah.
ago. Oh, arrest warrant for Putin. Here we go. We got it, baby. Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, look at the rules, guys. He's not going anywhere where there's an extradition treaty. So ignore all that crap. It's just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Pomp
And
and circumstance, man.
but it's nice to hear. Now, if we can do UN, get them off the Security Council. If we can do other things that help to spread the proper narrative that this is an evil regime and they have no right to have any voice in any international relationship whatsoever,
Yeah.
then that will assist in that process. That is a much better narrative than people waking up every day and saying this.
Yeah.
Well, another 1,000 Russians off the battlefield. When I hear that, you have completely
Me too.
eliminated your understanding of the Russian war machine. I will not listen to anything you say after that because you do not know Russia. That is irrelevant. What we need to say is, hey, Russia is having destabilization over here. Hey, Russia lost this contract. Hey, Russia has developed an enemy over here now. Those are the narratives that will destroy this regime.
Yeah.
Not another 1,000's gone, another 1,000 toward Ukrainian victory. You have no clue about a Russian army.
Yeah.
And if we can just assist in pushing the proper narratives, it's just going to help. So, Philip, I completely agree with you. 1,000,000%.
The only
Oh.
thing Russia understands is force. So you have to answer back with force.
Very
Absolutely.
much.
And-
Sorry, Sakai, but we're into wrap-ups here because
okay.
we're at time. So
Okay.
let's see. I know Phil's itching to get going and do his thing here, so we'll turn to Phil first, and that way he can give us a goodbye and a thought to think of or a plug for his own stuff. That's a good idea. But here you go, buddy.
Well, I got that behind me, so that's easy. Just to draw to a close what Greg saying there, I think we're on the same page here. I know you guys are, those of you especially who have been to the zero line and spent a lot of time on the zero line. I have transitioned to like doing what I'm doing here in the studio in Kiev and all the rest of it. And I know you guys feel, for every Ukrainian soldier that dies, it's gut wrenching, and I get that. But we're gonna win this war. We're going to, because Russia has already lost this war. They just don't know it yet. Mm-hmm. They don't know that they, by trying desperately to hold on to their empire, they've lost it forever. And the way Russia is created is the center. Everything is drawn to the center. Well, the center cannot hold anymore, and things are going to increasingly fray. So we need to, that's where we can draw our hope from, while still recognizing that what's happening on the front line is utterly tragic and should be reversible. Secondly, yes. Register. If you are an American citizen, register to vote. The victory in Ukraine is the same war that is being fought against autocracy in America. You may not agree with my political views, but I am a single issue voter, and Donald Trump does not support Ukraine. No matter what he says, no matter what bluster he puts in there, he and Vance are bad for Ukraine. And as such, I am voting for anybody who is opposed to them. And then finally, I'll get in my plug. Watch On the Edge tomorrow. We're debuting another episode with Aiden Isley or Aslan. We have a backlog of about 10 episodes with Starsky was on. We had Ben Browder. We've had Jake Crow. We're hoping to get more and more folks. As I say, a rising tide lifts all boats. So we shouldn't have to do it. The news organizations, Western news organizations, should be doing it, but they're not. So let's all spread news about the shows. Spread news about what everybody here is doing, because the more we can keep this in people's minds and understanding that this war is not just being fought here in Ukraine. This is the kinetic side of it. There's a war going on in the West, and Russia means to destroy liberal democracy because Vladimir Putin and his thugs in the Russian Empire can't abide a nation that is free, especially not one that's on their border and ostensibly they believe to be their brothers. So spread the news. And thanks guys for having me on today. And I'm gonna bow out here, but it's been a pleasure talking to you all. Nick, especially Greg, good to see you. Slavie, you're lovely as well. You Dick and Sakai, always good to see you as well. And Jana, I am looking for that book. You're gonna hook me up, right?
Very nice to meet you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me get on my soapbox as well. I do tend to drag on sometimes, so apologies if I did overstay my welcome. All the best to you.
Take care, brother Phil. Good seeing you, buddy.
Later, Phil.
Bye.
All right. So let's see here. Who wants to go next? Greg, do you want to go next, and then you can
let me
peter
go.
off?
I've got to go walk the mother-in-law. So I'll just say this. This was wonderful. I'm glad I hopped in here, but I will leave the Shills community with these thoughts in regards to us laboring together to fight for Ukraine. I know that probably Jana will not get this. Nick, I've not met you yet, so I don't know where you're from. Secular, you're going to get some of this.
Dallas.
Dick, you will, but I know people watching the Shills right now will get some of this. You ready? Gone are the days of Leave It to Beaver, Matt Dillon and his sidekick Festus. Now we survive on the immoral lives of those of the young and the restless. It's not that they're young, they're just restless, not doing it all like they should. So they go to the general hospital and there the doctors can't do them no good. So they keep on with their search for tomorrow, not doing one thing that's right. And they all end up in another world about to fall off the edge of night. But that shouldn't matter because after all, as the world turns, you only have one life to live. There remains a blessed future for you and all your children, more hope than Ryan could ever give. If we want true contentment, peace in our homes, with an end to this war and a hope for a great future, we must live and do what is right. Follow the guiding light, not one, but all the days of our lives.
Well, is that written down somewhere? Because there were so many references to unfold.
That's got to be. Well, they had me at Dillahunty, but still.
That was so well done.
That was good.
I was waiting until you're going to mention the days of our lives.
Massachusetts, by the way, so I got the references.
There you go, Nick. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
So for all of you wonderful folks in the Shills, especially those wonderful folks in here in that age range of mine and above, I just dropped about 16 soap operas on you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff. Hey, Dickie, thank you guys. Nick, we'll connect again in the future.
Absolutely,
Slavie,
sir.
bless you. Jana, we'll be talking to you.
Yep.
Awesome, buddy.
Oh, do y'all want to know something special?
Yes.
Always.
I got a call from Loza.
Oh.
What did he say?
Do you really want to know?
No, I'm just asking. Yes, I want to know.
All right. So because I do not know when my next personal live stream will be, I'm hoping for Monday. But you know how studio creation is, Dick. My complete studio is broken down.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a real live, not just a hello from my phone. I will be on with Rick tomorrow, but I'll do it through my phone. There, Jana, you may not even know this, but
You know things before I do, so I'm assuming I don't know
well,
it.
you may. I'm sure it's possible everybody else doesn't, but you may know this. Peter always went to battle, and he had a special knife. And this knife he procured from the enemy, and he used this knife nonstop in his work fighting for Ukraine. Loza called. They found it.
Oh.
And Loza said, Greg, I know right now that Pete wants you to have that knife. So the next time I'm over at Pete's place, Loza is going to present me with that knife. And I'll show it to you guys when I
Cool.
get it. So, dude,
Wow.
I remember him wearing it. And a pretty special item there. So you guys will see it. I will share it with everybody.
Fantastic.
You'll be the
Forward to
golden
seeing it.
child then because you've got the knife, right?
I've got the knife. So Ma Rose gave me quite a bit of stuff. I have the knife. I also was gifted Peter's battle jacket, the one that was shredded with shrapnel. It was carrying my patch on it from the first time we ever met, and all of his, real battle worn patches. And Maro said, Greg, that's yours. That's yours. I want you
That's
to wear
cool.
it. So I'm not going to wear it. I actually have an artist over here in my town. I'm going to shadow box it, and he's going to do something incredible with it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So a lot of good things, good memories. And guys, we take all the good memories and we use them as fuel to fight for the future. So be blessed.
Good words.
All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Y'all have a
Yeah,
good day.
great to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Take care,
Nice to
Greg,
meet you.
buddy.
We'll see you more. All right. Later, Dick.
Yeah. All right.
See you, Jana. See you, Sec. See you, Nick. Bye-bye. Slavie.
Later,
Paka.
buddy.
Bye-bye.
Okay, who's up next here? Let's go to Jana next then.
Yeah. Just want to say, continue to think about Ukraine. There are, as you guys know, the Olympics is going on right now. It is the smallest Ukrainian congregation that has ever been sent, or
Wow.
delegation that has ever been sent,
Yeah.
and 487 Ukrainian athletes and coaches have been killed by Russia. And what we're seeing is literally the result. That is why the group is so small. They had difficulty training for the Olympics as well with the power issues.
Right.
So, keep that
Work shouldn't
in
even
mind.
be in it.
Exactly. And out of the 15 Russian athletes who are there, 10 of them openly support the war.
Yeah. I will add
so-
up. Oh, go ahead, Jana.
Yeah. So keep Ukraine, like wherever you go, notice what's going on.
Yeah.
And please
I just
continue with your work.
Well, your turn, Sakai, so go ahead.
sorry. I just wanted to add on to what you were saying. In addition to those 15 who were participating, and I think 17 Belarusians who are having to do so under a neutral with no flag. I was very angry when I saw that. One thing that made me very happy, though, was the fact that apparently they had dozens and dozens more who were turned away and disqualified, by the Olympic Committee. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing.
Wrap-ups have to be a little tighter here. We're getting to the point where I'm going to have to just click and end the show because I got a limited time. So we got to get to wrap-ups, everybody. Sorry, but that's what we're doing.
All right, wrap up. $210. I'm going to match that with $210 for Annette. That's $420 extra. Thank you, everybody. And please keep supporting Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
Awesome. Good shout. Okay, Slavie's up next there.
NAFO truck fundraiser for the International Legion. If you guys can donate, need it for the boys, please. We might do something. Maybe I'll do a dance if you donate some incentives for you. Keep sharing stories about Ukraine more every day. That's what I'm doing this week. I'm shooting a lot of content this week and putting it out there. And Slava Ukraini.
Heroem Slava.
Heroem Slava.
Good words. Nick, what do you think, buddy?
Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a while, and it's been probably almost a year since I've actually had to talk about In Time. In Time is back for those of you who have not been long. I mean, I've known Dick for probably at least 5 years, and In Time has been going for at least 4 years. We have had about a 1 year hiatus. We are back. It's youtube.com/In Time Show. I have a belief, it's very similar to Matt Dillahunty, which was referenced earlier, which is that all of life gets better the more truth we know. We make better decisions the more truth we know. And the media, as Philip had said earlier, in the US is failing horribly. So In Time is a news channel, exclusively a news channel. We sit and we talk and we try to dissect news and we try to help our audience learn how to critically look at the information that they are being given. We don't tell people what to think. We tell them how to digest the information that they're getting from everybody, including us. We accept challenges to ourselves. We do breaking news. Oftentimes we do breaking news hours ahead. We covered the entire Prigozhin. We had footage of Prigozhin invading Ukraine for 6 hours before Associated Press even brought it up. Those of you who knew us from last year, you've seen it, you know what we do. Our last 2 interviews that we were supposed to have were with Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, a personal interview, because I've never seen a personal interview of him done. We wanted to just do a hang, and he agreed to that, and that was we were supposed to, we were not able to do that. And then a second follow-up interview to our previous one on NATO's involvement in the war, and we will be doing those. So we've reached out to him, and Starsky is going to co-host. Starsky has, we have offered to him to co-host that interview because he wanted to meet him so much, and we're such a big fan of Starsky. So my name is Nick. That is what we do. Hope you will join us. I've seen the link dropped in a couple times, so that was great. Dick, once again, delightful to see you, and thank you very much for sending me the link for today's show.
Awesome. Quick shout outs to Run Us Closed here. We had 25 direct in for the Boom Boom Fund for Apocalypse Sue. We had Dunk on You 23 with a $20 super chat. I'm late, but I'm here. Slavie Ukraine. Dunk on You 23 also gifted out 5 Shills memberships. So a double shot there. Thank you. Jean-Marc Paganel was in with a super chat. Solution: offer refugees on Polish borders citizenship in exchange for 2 years service in the Ukraine military. 3 years if it includes family. That goes back to that one conversation. Good point. We had refugee on Polish border citizenship to Ukraine. Flip it around there. That's there's a correction underneath. I did that correction in my head. So yeah. We had Rotor Max come in with a super chat. Great scream, folks. I'll help spread the word. Hey, thank you. The more the merrier. Hit the share button below. It really helps. Wizard of Ooze came in with a super chat too. The archive, the URK-Hive will prevail. Is that Ukrainian Hive? Is that okay? I wasn't sure there. I was like, it things sometimes, phones and all, you don't know, right? But we're caught up. So let me switch over because I've got shout outs to the team to do here. We've got Annette, CF Beauty in the live chat on the Shills account. We've got Leslie Bowe. We've got Liam Wakefield, Crazy Cat, and Super Chat Matt. Tomorrow, Annette's got Beyond the Headlines with this guy right here, Nick Suter. They're going to be hanging out and close out that conversation because, Nick's kind of like Walter Cronkite and he had to go, right?
I still live. We had breaking news. So
yeah. Well, sorry, Walter. Yeah, younger, but yeah. And we've also Annette wants to pass along big thanks to Secular Sakai there as well. So there we go. And remember, everybody, like Commander McMillan would remind you right now if he was here, but sadly not till next week. You got to keep on your local, regional, and national forms of government, whatever they may be called in your area, and keep pushing and pushing so that they know that Ukraine support is a top matter to the people. And remember, if you're American, get yourself registered to vote, because every vote against Trump is a vote for Ukraine. So this is what has to be done. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for donations and memberships and all that great stuff we get around here. Half an hour after the show, I sit down and do the math and figure out where money has to go and whatnot. So, yeah, no, I'll be in touch. And let's say goodbye, everybody. Slavie, Ukraine.
Well,
We're done. You can go now. Bye.
It's over. Go home. Go.